Jeremy Conn. It's all brought to you by Pickdawgz. Please click the like and subscribe buttons. That will help us out. And if you click the notification button, that'll let you know every time one of these gets posted. I say this all the time, so I'm going to repeat it again. I post my weather algorithm results in the morning once this video gets edited and posted. So you'll get to see it. Like, for example, Thursday morning, there weren't a lot of games. There was only one game that was really affected by weather. But today, so today is going to be kind of special because I'm going to give out 4 games. F it, I'm going to send it. I'm going to give out 4 games. There are 3 unbelievable weather spots right now as it stands in the slate, the baseball slate tomorrow. I also have a play in the Maryland game, college football. We'll give that out and talk about it a little bit. Kind of get you up to date on who Northern Illinois is, who Maryland is. I'm going to do this all throughout the year when I talk about these teams, trying to break down some of the players. And the more that the season goes on, we'll have a chance to actually look at some of the data and what's happening in the season. Like, for example, we already have 1 weekend with Maryland facing Florida Atlantic and Northern Illinois played Holy Cross. Talk a little about those games and how things worked out. I'm just going to say this, and I do appreciate everybody watching the show that comes back. I am absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, going to be on all 4 of these plays. So do with it what you will. Maybe it's a little gift from me, but I like talking about this stuff and the fact that it's football season. It's great. For you guys out there that do buy some of the premium plays, I have a ton posted right now. I'm finishing up what's going to be my top 5 in football. I said this yesterday. I have an NFL play with an underdog that I think is going to win by double digits. And I also have, that's not even my favorite play. My favorite play is another game where we have a home team that I don't think is getting enough respect in this particular spot. And I even put that down as my concrete best bet, so you guys can check that out if you want. I will put them all in a package. I have Saturday plays up. There's a game on Saturday that I absolutely can't get away from. There's just a lot of really good spots. I had the under in the Cowboys game against the Eagles. Again, I'm recording this before that game's even gone off, so I don't know what happens, but I was on the under. I liked A.J. Brown over 69.5 yards. I think we talked about that yesterday. I also ended up on George Pickens under 4.5 receptions. So we'll see how it works out. A little bit of rain in the forecast and go from there. For some of you high rollers, you've seen the phone number that we have up here. You can text Inner Circle to that number, find out more. Again, if you're going to be a bigger better, this is a rated system. You will find out how much I like each play. There's also late breaking stuff that happens. It's on a Telegram channel, and you guys get to see my results. Looking forward to doing this for football season. And if you're interested in that, make sure you text that number, Inner Circle, to that number, and then you'll be able to find out more and see if it is something that is for you. But I do like to say thank you guys for coming by. Watching this, it's been appreciated. It's good to be back after my throat surgery and everything that went on. I get my stitches out next week, so I'm kind of excited to have that happen. And I think I have 4 concerts coming up this month, which I can't wait for. Anyway, if anybody's into different music, I'm seeing Billy Strings. I'm seeing the Lumineers in Vance Joy. I saw the Lumineers in Ireland. They're one of my favorite bands. I'm going to Ocean's Calling in Ocean City, Maryland, where there's just so many. It's a 3-day festival. Green Day. Who else? Noah Conn. You got En Vogue will be there. Nelly will be there. Franz Ferdinand, Modest Mouse. There's just it's a lot of who's who, and it's kind of funny because there's a lot of bands in there that I don't know that I would buy a ticket to their concert, but I would like to see them live because you want to see some of the hits and what else goes on. But usually when I go to these, I find 2 or 3 new bands that I really like. One of the first ones was Judah and the Lion for me. And I just love that band. And maybe you don't know that name, but if you've played Madden, you've probably heard a couple of their songs. But yeah, so again, concerts. And my wife surprised me with Teskey Brother tickets for next Wednesday. My birthday's coming up and our anniversary's around the corner. So some of this is kind of tied into all that. If you don't know who the Teskey Brothers are, I love telling people about them. It's a white Australian group of brothers with long hair, beards, and their lead singer sounds exactly like Otis Redding. So if you like music, definitely look it up and check them out. Hold Me is my favorite song if you wanted to look that up, but it is very catchy. So I'm excited for this. Anyway, I'm just looking at all the stuff that's coming up this month. So I got football, I got concerts, I'm getting my stitches out. I can't wait. Let's get into these games. And like I said, I'm going to say lean, but consider all these free plays. And here we go. Let's start it off with the first game on the day. Nats at Cubs. 65 degrees at Wrigley. Wind is blowing out at 13 to 14 miles an hour. It's Jake Irvin, Javier Assad. Both of these guys put about 1.5 runners on each inning. The wind is blowing out. They put guys on base. You know what to do. The over here. These are no-brainer spots. And obviously it depends on the total. Like if the total, I'm not trying to get ridiculous here. If it was 18 or something, it's like, yeah, you really got to consider some things there. I'm assuming this total is going to be around 12, 11.5. And I still like the over there. I still think we're going to see a ton of runs here. Both of these guys give up so much hard contact. And the Nats scare you a little bit because there's not a lot of power there. But I still think even without not a lot of power, these are the types of games that I talk about where it's like I call them lottery ticket games. And what I like to do is parlay the over. And it's funny, I was just on with Costi and talking about how, too many people get caught up in parlays. But these are the ones I like to look at where I feel like everything kind of correlates. You're going to bet the over. You're going to pick two guys that hit home runs, and you parlay that with the over. It turns into a halfway decent payday. But in these spots in specific, you don't have to pick the usual suspects when their home run numbers are down. Like, we've had guys go to Coors, and we've seen this with Aaron Judge when he got really hot. And it's like he's plus 170 to hit a homer. And it's like, wait a minute. How many home runs are you going to hit this year? And I got to pick a spot when he's plus 170. You don't want those paydays. You want the 3-1, 4-1, 6-1, whatever you can get, those odds. And I think games like this, it's perfect to pick the catcher to hit a home run that nobody's talking about. Go down the line. If you're looking at the Cubs, maybe you pick Dansby Swanson to go yard. On the Nats side, you can go back to the regular James Wood, C.J. Abrams, but maybe there's somebody else towards the bottom of that lineup that you like. Because all you have to do when the wind's blowing out like this is lift the ball. And we got 2 fly ball pitchers that put guys on base. For me, it's a no-brainer. So you guys can do with that what you want. Hopefully it hits. And if it hits, congrats, because I'm going to be all over this game. I already know it. The same thing here. I've talked about my research and how I look at things. Mets at the Reds. So I'm actually going to talk about the first 3 games of the day. And any place you go, they're going to be the first ones listed. Reds and Cubs, it's an afternoon game at Wrigley. These are 6:40 starts or somewhere in that 6 o'clock hour. But it's 80 degrees in Cincinnati. It's humid. Wind is blowing out 8 miles an hour, 9 miles an hour to left center. And as I said, David Peterson, Andrew Abbott. Peterson's been scuffling as of late. Andrew Abbott has just shoved it every single time he's went out there. Like I was talking about him earlier, one of the luckier pitchers in baseball, but sometimes you got to look at it and say maybe he's making his own luck. But I've been looking for spots to target him, and this is the one. I think this is another overplay for me. And by the way, these 3 baseball plays are all going to be overplays, just so you know. Mets at the Reds, humid. I've talked about Cincinnati Stadium, the Great American Ballpark, or small park, if you will. When it gets humid, the ball carries. We already have the wind blowing out, and it's 80 degrees. I think this is just such a cherry spot to go after. Give me the over with the Mets and Reds. Now, let's go to the White Sox at the Tigers. Wind's blowing out 12 to 13 miles an hour. It's 65 degrees. Would like it to be a little bit hotter. But you can't argue with 12 to 13 mile an hour winds here. Shane Smith, Jack Flaherty, both can give up hard contact. I actually like the way that Shane Smith has pitched this year. But having a pitcher like that, knowing we're going to get the lefty lineup with the Tigers, the pop in their bats. I love Kerry Carpenter in these spots. He'll be on my home run list tomorrow. So maybe today, there's another one for you if you want to look into that. Just make sure he's in the lineup, which he should be. And Jack Flaherty. He can get his Ks, he can strike out guys, but he still hits a ton of bats. And he's had kind of a weird season this year. I think we were talking about him. At one point, he was the least profitable pitcher because being on the Tigers, he was going to be heavy favorites. And if you go look at his win-loss record, it's no bueno. I do think Jack Flaherty's an okay pitcher. But in these spots, it's another great over spot. And I'm going to go back to the well here and take the over in this stadium. And I've said this before. I've talked to plenty of players. I don't know that the Detroit Tigers stadium would technically, even with them moving the fences in, be called a hitter's park. But hitters love to hit here because of the backdrop. They say they see the ball better. And it's kind of one of those weird things where it's like, I don't fully understand it, but I kind of do because if you've ever played basketball, but like you get to some of these weird gyms and courts where, the wall is way behind where the hoop is and maybe your depth perception is not great. Or when we've watched teams in the Final Four play on like an aircraft carrier or some gigantic ship or something, or they go to these arenas and then they got to walk up to the floor and the backdrop's different. I'm telling you, it does have an effect, that depth perception and getting used to it. That being said, if hitters like to hit here because of the backdrop, I do think it's a huge bump to bats. Wind's blowing out. I got no problem here going with the over. All right, let's talk a little football. And there's a couple games tonight, and this is the only one I really care about. It's Northern Illinois at Maryland. Maryland is favored by 17. It's 46.5 total. Let's start off with Maryland. I mean, this is my hometown team. My station, my radio station, is the home of the Terps. We just talked to their head coach on Tuesday about their win over Florida Atlantic. If you watch that game, a little bit of scuffling early on for Maryland, and then they got a defensive touchdown. And after that, it kind of settled everything down, and they blew out Florida Atlantic and just kind of handled business. Malik Washington, the quarterback they got, he's a local kid. He won the job. He ended up throwing 3 touchdowns. Completion percentage could be a little bit better, but I thought he got stronger as the game went on and looked pretty good. Terps hit the transfer portal, and they got hit a little hard in the transfer portal as well as some of their guys were leaving. They have a new defensive coordinator, Ted Monachino. He's a pro-style defensive coordinator, guy coming from the NFL. They only have 3 offensive starters returning. As I said, Malik Washington being the quarterback, I think the kid's going to be really good. It may take some time. The interesting thing about this is, like, looking at the Terps over the course of their history, they usually have schedules set up like this where, and I think a lot of these middling teams do that in bigger conferences. And what do I mean by that? Everybody thinks Maryland's a basketball school. I don't think the football team gets paid enough attention. It'd be nice to see more people go out to the stadium, watch games, and support them. But it's like, what's the ceiling for Maryland football? And I'm sure there's a lot of teams that feel that way. If you went to the ACC, I'd probably look at NC State and Wake Forest and Duke, like those teams. Could you have one year where you put it together and make a run? Sure. Now with the playoff, there's always possibilities. But my assumption is in the Big Ten, and even if it turns into one of these gigantic super conferences and they feed on the ACC after this year, and we just have the SEC and Big Ten, I still think Maryland's going to be in the bottom portion of that league or that conference for a while. I mean, they just have to have one of those seasons, and they always end up playing Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, 2 out of those 3. So it's not like this isn't a football school per se, but they're trying to make it that. And I think Mike Loxley's done a phenomenal job recruiting. It's just about trying to get more people here and have this team go off. And I just don't know it's something. And the reason I bring that up is you usually see them schedule 3 cupcakes at the beginning. A lot of teams do this, where you schedule 3 easy ones, then you get into conference play, or what are deemed to be easy ones. You get into conference play, and then you're like, okay, I just have to win 3 more games to get bowl eligible. And that's really what you're looking for. If you're a coach getting to bowl game after bowl game after bowl game, and you're not necessarily going to be one of those teams contending for a national championship, that's how you hold on to your job. You keep that. So here we are in a situation where the Terps offense, I think they might scuffle a little bit here against this Northern Illinois team. And let me tell you about them, because they barely beat Holy Cross. They had to have a comeback win over them. I think they won by 2 points. I mean, it says a lot about their makeup after how the game went awry and getting back in it. But here's what I want to point out. Their defense was number 14 in scoring last year, but they're only returning 2 starters. And you may say, well, wait a minute. You're talking about defense here and how, like, I'm leaning towards the under, and that's going to be my play. The free play is going to be the under in this game. And how are you going with that? And then you read this, and then you go, their new offensive coordinator wants to spread it out more. He wants to go to more of this spread-type offense and spacing and all those things that can apply. So you're looking a little bit wider out. And then it makes you start to think about some of the spread offenses we've seen come out of Oregon and California and Texas Tech. And, I mean, it seems like the spread offense is all over the place. And it's funny because the old adage in the NFL was, you don't want to take one of these quarterbacks out of these spread offenses, the old Jeff Tedford offense at Cal and at Oregon, and you watch some of the quarterbacks, how they've gone on, whether you want to talk about Joey Harrington, who is with his kid Smith there at Oregon. I'm trying to remember his name. One of the kids, Dennis Dixon, didn't he go to the Steelers? You had Marcus Mariota. I mean, a bunch of guys that come out of there, even when you look out at some of the other teams. And it's one of the reasons why the dumbest thing I've ever said on radio is I didn't like the Chiefs' pick of Patrick Mahomes. You got to keep coming out of Texas Tech in a spread offense. You think he's going to come in and win right away? Yeah, he did. So I got to eat that crow. But when it comes down to it here, and I'm looking at Northern Illinois, they had to come back against Holy Cross. And I feel like this is an offense that's going to continue to struggle until they figure it out and get the right pieces. And that's why, like, you look at the beginning of the year, I do think there are advantages on underplays. I mean, I find a lot of spots that I think it's going to be high scoring, and I love attacking those spots. But I also have no problem betting unders. And if you guys have followed any of my college football plays, we were on the under in Wisconsin. We were on the under in Michigan State. When that Thursday and Friday hit both of those. I was on the over in Ole Miss on Saturday, hit that. I was on the over in Mississippi State, didn't hit that. So, like, I like looking for totals in the right spot. I think the under's the right play. I mean, it's 46.5, and the Terps are favored by 17. And as I said, their offense struggled against Florida Atlantic to get going. That defensive touchdown kind of just opened everything up for them. So there you go. Those are your 4 free plays. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you're checking all the premium picks over at Pickdawgz.com. Really appreciate you guys checking this out. I'll be back tomorrow with a full slate of college football to talk about. We'll pick 4 games and go over them right here. Thanks for watching the Lowdown.